In honor of International Overdose Awareness Day, we at Utah Naloxone wanted to gather a whole crew of people, those who work in the field with us, those with lived experience, those who've lost somebody that mattered dearly to them, and wanted to put their hearts' stories out there for people to experience with us. To acknowledge the importance of this day, to acknowledge those that we've lost and will never, ever stop thinking of, and to fight and to continue to reignite our energies for those who are still in the midst of it. Individuals do recover. Individuals do struggle. And they need us. They need us to care about them. They need us to acknowledge them. They need us to go forward and fight for them.
International Overdose Awareness Day, to me, it means remembering those that we've lost.
For me, it's a way to humanize and to remember all the incredible people who had hopes and dreams, who loved and felt love from other people.
It's partially a celebration of the people that have survived overdose, the people that are still with us, but it's also bittersweet because it's a time to recognize the people that we've lost and the times that I remember the folks in my life that are no longer here.
It's like a bold statement of like, these people matter.
I don't think it just means like a day. I think it's a 24-hour, everyday thing that people should be aware of all the time.
To me, it means that I get to be a father again. Without overdose awareness, I don't think that I would be here.
Everybody should have a voice, and sometimes in addiction, we lose our voice, and I think really acknowledging this day is us speaking out and giving a voice to those that might have lost their voice before they were able to find it.
You know, it can happen to anybody, and I hope people realize that.
Addiction is not a moral failing. It could affect anyone. I mean, my son got into it after a motorcycle accident, became addicted to the prescription opioids, and that led to heroin and other things down the road.
Well, I can tell you, growing up, my dreams was not to be a homeless heroin addict. My dreams were not to lose my children. My dreams were to not go through that pain and trauma. I had bigger dreams, but one decision led me into a spiral of a disease, and I couldn't control it.
I feel like my brother needed that, and he didn't really feel like loved, and he was searching for like something to numb himself. It ultimately took his life, and I feel like he didn't know how much he was loved, and he really was.
I do believe stigma as a whole is part of our problem.
It's not the person who I thought it was. It's anybody.
Just having the realization that the person that's suffering could be your neighbor or your friend or you know, somebody you work next to in a cubicle, and how do we make it so these conversations that literally save lives can happen on a daily basis, and more readily have them access, you know, the therapies and the substances that are available to help them, you know, when they are in trouble.
I still see so many people saying, he's an addict, or look at that bum on the street. And that's not the case. If you get to know these people, they're human beings with hopes and dreams just like anyone has.
Whether it's a mother or a father or a spouse or kids, like every single one of these people has people that care about them, you know? And I think that if you can just take it out of the moral framework to understand that like the impacts of just one person going or losing their life to an overdose isn't just that one person. It isn't just their family. Like it affects so much more than you could ever know. And it's not just that moment, that continues in time.
Addiction is just another illness that gets a hold of people. And sometimes people who overdose are not fully into addiction. It can be just a full-blown accident. And you don't want that to happen to your teenage child or your sister, brother, or whoever. You want them to have some tools so that they can avoid that, because, you know, one decision to use might be fatal.
Something about it is it's done in the dark, it's secret. you know, and there's always shame attached to it. And so that's one of the biggest barriers for recovery.
I found myself overdosing from substances because of the disease of addiction.
They may not want to get into recovery at that time, but when they're ready, if we're there in a loving, trusting, caring, non-judgmental manner where we are helping them, we're going to make a huge difference in their life and their willingness to ask for and receive help in the future.
People have the disease of diabetes. You know, there's medicine for that. People are aware of that. But for addiction, people don't know that it's a disease and that there is a way to help.
I think the way that I've chosen to try to combat that stigma is to take a really science-based approach and talk about neuroscience, talk about how addiction works in the body and brain. And so it just becomes another biological phenomenon that we can think about and relate to that way, as opposed to a series of moral failings that happen to other people that are completely apart from your life.
I think, there's this misconception that people think you can just, stop doing that, and that people don't understand it's a disease, and that, it takes time and it takes resources and effort, to help someone through that journey.
From my communications I have in the community, I know a lot of people do see that we're saving someone's life and someone's going to go right back to using. For me, it's if we could get people help with these addictions, we'd see less of these problems, and then maybe people would be more likely to appreciate naloxone. It could be bringing someone back to really help them get help and to save their life and save their family in the future.
I have never had a problem talking about my son. At the very beginning, we did keep that secret hidden in the back of our heart. We didn't want people to know. We wanted to hurry and fix him before anybody found out. But we quickly learned that the more you share your story, the more the sting diminishes.
Shame will kill a lot of people, kill an addict, kill a person who's suicidal. I just think the stigma is hopefully lifting, and these types of days of awareness help lift that stigma.
I hear a lot at my syringe exchange about people who use drugs, and sometimes they bring their family members in, and there's so much emotion around the shame of drug use. People feel very embarrassed, or they don't want to admit it, and so many of my participants are constantly showing progress. So they'll come and they'll tell us, like, hey, I got a job, or I did this, and they want to show how much they're trying to fight their addiction or to decrease their drug use.
I know if somebody would not have intervened in my life, regardless if that was a system, a person, a resource, I would not be here today. And I am well aware that people have created some very horrible behaviors and put themselves in high-risk situations and have done some things out of desperation of addiction. But at the end of the day, those are people that are still someone's father, mother, sister, aunt, uncle, mother, dad, nephew, niece.
Naloxone is such a life-saving measure, and I'm so grateful that's kind of becoming more in the mainstream as well.
We continue to combat stigma in society around substance use and overdose by advocating, by telling our personal stories, by research, by getting our feet on the ground and meeting people where they're at.
All I needed was that one chance to make a change, and I took that chance. And it's been 8 years since I've been able to overcome that darkness that I was living in. And I've been able to get 3 degrees. I've been able to buy a home. I've been able to be a productive member in my society. I've been able to show up for the family members of those who are struggling. And you look at the person, which was me, laying on the street, maybe overdosing, maybe had substances around me looking dirty. And you look at me today and you would have never have known that the person showing up for the people that you love and care about just needed that one more day.
I feel like a lot of people, they end up just suffering by themselves in silence. They don't really talk about it, and just know you're not alone. You can do it if you want to do it. There's lots of resources. Make a phone call, reach out to somebody, take that first step.
This is really important work in Utah and the community in general, and I don't think there can be too much awareness. I think this is a great way to combat and talk about this issue.
What is important about this entire day is to understand that this is happening to many, many, many of our children, and certainly our adults. And what we need to be doing is to understand that we, as a community, can help them.
An individual on the street that might be suffering from substance abuse, or even somebody that might live in a different type of neighborhood, our job is to serve and protect everybody with respect and dignity, to respect human life.
I just want to thank everyone for all of the efforts. I cannot thank the community enough. I feel like we have come such a long ways. Thinking of where we started years ago, I believe it's been over a decade, with Naloxone. And I want to thank Utah Naloxone as an organization specifically with how much they've been able to provide to the community and the amount of overdoses that have been prevented. And also to everyone that is in the field of helping all patients and people that are suffering from this disease.
I think the message is everyone's worth it. Every single person is worth it.
Overdose and addiction can happen to anyone and everyone, and we all deserve a second chance. I see hope. I see being able to help other people. I see being able to guide people into a new life. I'm happy that I'm in recovery and that I get to share my story and I get to share my experiences so that people see that there really is hope.
I think the answer right now is to have understanding and empathy for our fellow human beings who have battles.
You can get better, and you can go through treatment and get sober and stay sober.
Always carry an arc on. I mean, your friends are going to do it anyway. You can't change people. You can't make people do what you want to do, but you sure can rescue them when they go out.
It just brings home the fact that it did save my life, and it's sad to say that I got that depressed in my life when I didn't think that anybody cared about me, but just a total stranger brought me back to life.
My message to anyone dealing with addiction, whether it's you personally or whether it's your family member or your friends, is to say there is help out there.
I wholeheartedly believe that people deserve love and compassion and respect, and I get to show up and show some unconditional love. To me, it doesn't matter what choices people are making, that I get to be a safe place to talk about those things and be the person that I once needed.
We are a community bringing awareness and fighting the same thing and hoping that people don't die from addiction and that they get a chance to be in recovery.
Why aren't they worth saving? Everybody's worth saving. People who use drugs are people. We should see them as that. They're just as deserving as the next person. Everybody makes decisions, but they don't deserve to die because of those decisions. And I think that's what Overdose Awareness Day needs to come back to.
It's crucial to us that this day resonates, that this day feels like something, that this day perhaps touches your heart, perhaps inspires you to care a little bit more about someone in your community who doesn't always feel cared for, perhaps gives you that extra oomph if you're trying to get through to the next day, that we really do want you here, that we really do value you, that we really can't bear the thought of a world without you. So here we are, a whole crew of us, as many voices as we could possibly accumulate in a couple days' time to march on in to International Overdose Awareness Day and hopefully maybe shift a few hearts.